financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is the role of events in estate planning, a never covered topic before. Brian Small, good morning.
Shouldn't there be like a drum roll or something like that?
The pause was a drum roll, so that the producer knows when he finalizes the show to add in the drum roll.
Okay. We'll find out if there's a drum roll. But good morning.
Jeffrey Linden.
Good morning, Ken. Great to be here.
Pause. Joe Frizard.
Good morning, Ken.
Pause. Okay, now we're into events. Okay, estate planning, and the idea of this show is to talk about estate planning in the real world. We all know that everyone needs a plan. You need a plan to cover events while you're living and also when you die. Most people think it's only about death, but as we'll talk about, it's about living. But when do people really get motivated to get to the point of getting that plan done? Sometimes it requires an event. So that's why I wanted to kind of talk in terms of events. But before we do that, I want to talk about the essential elements of an estate plan to get it out there so that when we're talking about the events, we can relate to them. So Brian, why don't you walk us through the essential elements of an estate plan?
Okay, so 2 documents for the living, 2 documents for the dead, so to speak. I'll start with the living. We have the durable power of attorney, which is the document that is used to allow your attorney, in fact, your agent, to help make financial decisions. You can purchase things with that. The document can be a limited durable power of attorney, or it can be an expansive one. It can say that you can only do X, Y, and Z, or it can be everything including the kitchen sink. Generally, in an estate plan, the durable power of attorney is meant to cover any financial aspect that you can think of, whether it's buying and selling a house, starting litigation.
And then Joe, you guys use that for elder law planning to make it very expensive so you can do your elder law planning?
Definitely, yeah, it's really important. I mean, we have scenarios in here about if you become incapacitated and you don't quite have everything in place yet, what can be done at that point. If you don't have power of attorney, the process is going to be very difficult for
Because you
your
have to
family and
run to
friends.
court to get a guardianship.
And there's not everything can be done with the conservatorship that can be done with power of attorney.
Sure.
So that's
the durable power.
Now, my belief, the next document for the living is the most important one. It's the healthcare power of attorney. When you,
that's for the living almost dying.
It's for the living wanting to live. It's for the living almost dying. The concept is you grant someone the authority to make medical decisions that you would have made for yourself if you had capacity to do so. So whether you lose capacity due to having a stroke, having Alzheimer's, being in an accident where you're not conscious, you're trusting someone else that they will make the right medical decision on your behalf. To me, it's the single most important document because everything else has to do with money.
Generally speaking, do you find that your clients, you guys, want that healthcare power to give the agent the authority to discontinue continuing life, no codes, or do you find that some clients want direct the agent to keep me alive no matter
Right.
what happens? Don't you dare unplug me.
Why I've never seen in the history of me doing estate plans anybody say keep me alive forever kind of thing. However, attitudes and what you want to have happen in your life change as you get older. And so people tend to become more pragmatic about end-of-life scenarios when they're in their 80s and 90s than they are when they're in their 20s. When they're in their 20s, we're superheroes.
Invincible.
Invincible.
You see the same thing?
I have it's more of a blend. I think most people follow the pattern that you said. There are some that do it differently. There are some that believe in, that there'll be some medical intervention, some creation downstream. The people who want heads frozen, stuff like that, they want to be everything done to keep them alive as long as possible. I've had a few of those. And then there are those that have deeply held religious beliefs that believe it's in God's hands and don't want to have anything as long as they do
So it runs
stuff.
the spectrum. The point is, you can make that selection in that healthcare power how you want it handled, and then your agent's got an obligation to follow that.
And more important, if you don't have that healthcare power of attorney in place, who's going to make the decision?
And that is, it's the, picking that person who ultimately...
Jerry the bartender.
Well,
The last one you
practically, it's Jerry the nurse or the doctor.
So what are the other documents?
So then we've got the pour-over will and the revocable living trust. Pour-over will says, hi, I've got stuff. I own it. I want it to go someplace. Put everything I own into my trust. Okay?
Why do we have a trust? Why don't we just have a will?
Well, a will has to be probated, and the pour-over will is really a backup document. If you do everything right to fund your trust, then what happens is the pour-over will is a useless document.
So what does the trust accomplish?
The trust is the document that distributes the assets that you have without having to go to probate. I did say the will is important, though, if you have minor children, because that's where you establish guardianship for your children. God forbid something should happen to the parents.
Okay, so those are our documents, and we'll come back to them as we talk about events. Let's introduce the first good event. We just got married. Now, why I'm throwing that out there is a couple just gets married, they call us up and they say, we need an estate plan. Because at that point, when you get married, whether it's your first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, you're a new unit and you need to address those issues. You guys see that happening?
Absolutely, and the estate plan is designed to protect the surviving spouse or the surviving children of the spouse.
Let's take a break and we'll talk about it for a second.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, we'll get through this, we'll get through this.
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled.
Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, so we just got married. So there's definitely a distinction. The one that I see is between the first marriage versus second marriages. Because when you have second marriages, you have children typically from each different household.
Right.
And coming into the new marriage, you want to take care of your surviving spouse as between the two of you, but you want to make sure that you've taken added precautions that your surviving spouse doesn't take the money and leave it to his or her children and leave your children without anything.
But that can be done. It's not a problem as long as there's a complete discussion with the clients, and then you can have the wife's trust control her money. You can have the husband's trust control his money. The beneficiary designees could be different. They could be the same. You can have limited access to the husband's trust. You can have complete access to the husband's trust. You can have limited access to the wife's trust.
Sure.
Complete.
All right.
access.
So that's it. So marriage is one. The other one that I commonly see is we have a baby and we're going on our first vacation away from her.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, what happens if, God forbid, there's some catastrophic accident? and
Plane
we
goes
both go
down. If you're going on the excursion to see the Titanic and the unit implodes.
It's a little too early for that. Sorry.
Sorry, I know, it's sick. Okay, bad things happen.
Right.
Okay, so what is it about, how do you address this guardianship issue?
Well, that you do that in the will. You establish who you wish to take care of your child and raise your child in a will by naming a guardian and then an alternate guardian, theoretically.
So the unstated part is that, in that circumstance, if you haven't done planning or whatever, there will be a probate action filed to appoint a guardian over minor children. And the law and the courts give priority to your nomination in your estate plan document. So if you name people in certain roles, the court gives great weight to that.
So that way you don't get into a fight where all of a sudden the
Grandparents from both
are
sides
saying
are
we want to take care of the kids, whereas you've designated your close friend who is approximately your age that knows the kids that's better suited to raise them.
Correct.
Those types of issues. All right, how about this one? I inherited big money. So all of a sudden all these years you've had nothing, you inherit a bunch of money, now you think you need an estate plan because you're worried about if you die, where's that money going to go?
You do need an estate plan. That's a guarantee. You needed one before you inherited the money, but you certainly need one now for protection for where does the money go, who gets it, tax aspects, potentially dealing with a litany of issues. Do you want it to go to your third wife who's going to give it to the tennis coach? That's your story, so to speak. The one you always
tell. The wife
tell.
gives it to the tennis pro. The husband gives it to the dancer.
Okay. Well, at least we have some good intellectual choices there.
There you go. So, I guess you could go with the golf pro, but I was a tennis player in my youth.
Joe, hey, wait, I got a question. So, with the elder law work that you do, sometimes, is there inheritance issues from the parties that are doing the estate plan. So mom and dad do their estate plan, but they have a sister, and they do all this creative estate planning, and then mom inherits $6 million from her sister. How often does that happen, and how do they get around all of the rules relating to Medicaid and all that good stuff?
Oh, so a lot of the time what we want to do is, if you anticipate the inheritance from someone, encourage them an estate plan for your family member. For example, that sister, you might say, have an estate plan where this is going to go into a special needs trust or an irrevocable trust, so that doesn't wipe out the eligibility for Medicaid. And the same thing with your kids. I mean, if you know, I'm going to give them this much money, and you're in your second marriage, I want to make sure that this goes to my grandkids. So, tell them, we're getting this estate plan, I'd like you to as well. So we make sure that if something happens to you, this goes only to my grandkids, not to your husband.
Similar circumstance, debt scenario. Okay, your kid, you have a lot of money. You're the parents, and your kid has financial problems. You do not want to leave that money outright to your kid because it's going to go to his creditors. So what do? You leave it in trust for him, and the trustee doles it out. Remember, during the financial crisis, we made a lot of shifting and changes where we'd represent. I had one case where I was representing a developer who went bust because all the banks foreclosed on everybody. His mother was worth $10 million in her late 80s. So the bank was counting on waiting for mom to die, him to inherit, and then they would be able to collect.
Right.
So what did we do? We went to mom and said, change your trust. We made his brother the trustee over his section so that they would get nothing. And then after we told the bank that we did that, we were able to settle the $5 million claim for $50,000. Before that, the bank said, well, we're not settling with you because when his mother dies, we're going to collect all the money.
So
that would be a nice theory, but we've already taken care of that.
But that's using the trust system for financial crisis. So we did a spendthrift trust with discretionary powers to the trustee for those people that want to know what the actual terms are.
Well,
wait, my kids are going off to college.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Is that an event for estate planning?
100%.
Absolutely.
Your children just reached the age of 18. You can no longer make a medical decision for them. You can no longer make a financial decision for them. They need to sign a power of attorney, and they need to sign a medical power of attorney, giving you, the parent, the rights to make those decisions. Because while they think that they are adults at the age of 18, we know they're not.
I have to roll back and think, when I was 18, if my parents handed me a power of attorney and said, sign it, would I have been astute enough to say, I'm not signing it. I'm making my own decisions.
Yeah, okay, and that's when they would have cut you off.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-4357. Also, go online to our website to get our free reports. Resolving tax problems, the real solutions. Bankruptcy, is it right for me? How to save your home from foreclosure. business formations, loans, and grants for small businesses in Detroit and Michigan, and the Retiree's Guide to Social Security. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Samasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Samasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order, and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Samasco Law.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
So now let's talk about bad events. I'm going to throw them out together and know what kind of talked about it. I'm not happy in my marriage. I'm getting divorced. My kid has an addiction problem. Wait. What is an addiction problem?
No. The kid with the addition problem, we definitely don't want him to be the subtraction.
Most kids have subtraction problems. Okay, all right, so
An addiction problem.
addiction problem.
So much for spelling
I
in the
don't
outline.
trust my son or daughter-in-law. My health is taking a major downturn. We see these all the time. The ones that that I think are the most critical mass are you're elderly, you know you have assets, you either are in an unstable marriage, that's a big one, you're facing divorce, or you think your kids are, or you don't trust your son-in-law or your daughter-in-law, so you want to protect those assets when you pass away. These are all events that I call them bad events from the standpoint they're not things that you want to see happen to you, but they're all estate planning events that you need to think about. Everybody agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing from the standpoint of one of the biggest triggers of dealing with estate planning is people come in because their health is taking a downturn. And the reality is that you need to come in well before your health takes a downturn, because I had a client that came in to see me. It was actually the child, his mother. doesn't have an estate plan. Mom has dementia. There's nothing we can do about estate planning.
Yeah.
We can go to court and get guardianship and conservatorship established, but we can't do estate planning because she doesn't have capacity. And
had Mom signed a durable power of attorney when she had capacity, then you'd be in a position where you could handle those
Another
things.
thing I get more often than not are people who have a loved one in their family or close to them that didn't plan and then had to go through all the trials and tribulations and troubles of probate and court proceedings and not having access to things. And it's a good segue into our next section because then they realize how bad it can be, and then they come in to do the plan.
Speaking of which, the next section, let's do that because we're running towards the end of the show. It's Too Late Baby Events. So we got a little, whose song was that?
I have
Anybody?
no idea, but it's
It's
now
Too Late
in my
Baby
mind
Events.
and will be there all day.
Sudden death, stroke or major event causing lack of capacity, my money disappeared, my mother died, and the house is in her name, as are the bank accounts, dad's in the hospital and doesn't know what is going on and needs Medicaid from nursing care. All these are, why am I saying it's too late?
Because there's no capacity to do the documents at this point, which means that that durable power of attorney and the medical power of attorney can't be signed.
Once the money is missing, it's kind of difficult to, what's the guy who jumps out of the can? See, this is your age difference. Prince Albert. Once he jumps out of the can, it's hard to get him back in.
I just want to add too about, we talked about dementia and lack of capacity. You know, I had a client who came in who said, I think it's too late. You know, my mom was diagnosed with the early signs of dementia. And you talk to her, she actually really does have capacity at this point. So it is a legal distinction, you know, that you want to make sure that.
Yeah, if you know the objects of your bounty, if you know you have assets
right.
and you want them to go somewhere, you've got enough testamentary
Right.
capacity to do a will and do a trust.
It's important to know that the legal standard for capacity for doing a will and a trust is lower than the legal standard for signing a contract or a lease. So just because somebody's at the beginning stages of illness does not mean that they don't have the capacity to do their plan.
But here's the one thing that, as we head towards the end of the show, the one thing that we all should understand is that it doesn't matter what age you are. It's important to do an estate plan, whether you're a young person who's just turned 18, there's aspects of the estate plan that you need the powers of attorney. If you are a young married couple, you're going to have a child, you need to deal with guardianship. That's the most important aspect. As you age,
it's a changing environment.
The estate plan documents carry you throughout your life and will cover you from early to the last day.
But you need to revise them and look at them along the way because your goals and desires will change as you age. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.